Good evening and welcome to the last round of the Sam Pearce Motorsport CV-19 Clio Cup from Brands Hatch, and this time we are on the Grand Prix circuit, the full classic and probably one of the best tracks and circuits in the country. And I am joined once again by Karl Graves. Good evening, Karl.
Good evening, Paul. How are you doing tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad. Today seems to have gone very quickly despite kind of intermittent rainstorms and everything else. But I'm very much looking to enjoy this evening's racing because although Matt has won the championship outright and Alex has secured that P2, there is a very tight battle in third, fourth and fifth between Scott Thompson, who is on 81 points, Ed Whitehouse, who's desperate for that third place on 69, and Russ, Kiwi Russ, on 66 points. So still a lot to play for.
Yes, it's extremely close, and Ed has got a bit of work to do because he's desperate to get that third place, as we keep hearing from him. And I think we've put a bit of a spanner in the works tonight because they turned up late for the event, so we've gone into the night now.
We have, as we see immediately, the fact that it's going to be a colder circuit with colder tyres. And last week it was the rain of Snetterton, which everyone really should have been expecting, but actually it looks like a into the night race on the Brands GP circuit.
Yeah, end of season spectacular.
And what is it, from your perspective, that makes the Grand Prix circuit so great?
Personally, I think it's one of the best, as you mentioned, one of the best circuits around, and it's because of the bit we're coming on to now. It is that GP loop part. It's pretty much unchanged from the F1 days, so the circuit is very, very quick out back, but it's also very, very close to the barriers as you come through this part of the circuit.
Yeah, and this is the part that we don't normally get to see, which is along through Pilgrim's Drop into the right of Hawthorne Bend, and along this straight, which is the Derek Minter straight, into the fast right-hander, knock it down a gear of Westfield, and then down into the right again, and right again into Dingley Dell. So these are very quick corners, and it will take a little bit of time for the guys to get some heat into the tyres. So this is knock it down, put it down, and actually, yeah, gone off there on the cold tyres. Heavy braking, down into third of Sterling's, and then all the way down Clearways, which is very different from this angle, Karl. You're coming at it from much faster than you normally would if you're on the Indy circuit.
Yeah, a lot quicker, and actually the line makes the corner quicker as well because of it. So the line that you take into Clark and that from there onto the main straight is completely different and a lot faster. Therefore, you're going probably another 10 mile an hour into paddock than you are on the Indy circuit.
Yeah, so in this practice session and maybe in qualifying, the tyres might be a little bit cold, but we know that they do start the race on hot tyres. And there's some interesting things I'd like to see happening as well this week. You know that Jason Goddard, Mr. G on your screen, yet to open his account. We're basically all the way through this esports season. And he did have the dizzy heights of 10th position at one point at Snetterton last week, but he got a little bit scared of being up there, Karl, and I'm hoping that he's going to pull in a performance out of nowhere. I think he's got 3 bottles of rosé in him, so he's going to see where that relaxes him, takes the tension out of his wrists, and manages to show us that true class that he has, and maybe he can open his legs and show us his class this evening.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to bring this up too badly, but I think he's the only one that hasn't scored points out of all the guys. So he's overdue for getting some points, and he was close last week. But as you say, the dizzy heights got to him, and a couple of faster drivers just pipped him in the end.
Yeah, and he's actually changed his livery for this race, hoping that just a little bit of sponsorship from Project Cars will in fact help his chances. But we are expecting kind of business to be fairly usual at the front. There's a couple of people that I am surprised as I scan through the championship standings. Rob Burnham, Rob the Bear, down in P13, just 5 points. He has shown some great pace, and really I was expecting him to be challenging a little bit higher up, but hopefully he can put in a consistent race, not rage quit or get his toys out the pram or anything like that, and try and take it to the ginger wrecking ball that's Tom Starkey. But yes, we are hoping for good things from Rob as well, Karl.
Yeah, we are. Rob's been getting better and better with the car, and it looked like he was going to be doing very well last weekend, but just didn't quite get it all together lap after lap, which caused him a few issues, unfortunately. And as we can see, the laps are starting to come in from the guys, Paul. What sort of time do we expect today with these, and being night, just off the pace that we've been seeing in the daytime sessions?
I think so, yeah, just a couple of seconds. 1:37 seemed to be fairly consistently achievable in daytime warmer track conditions. However, we do know from our race earlier in the year that turn 1 at Paddock and also Druids is going to potentially be very tricky to get through. People will spread out a little bit more potentially on this track, but I think 1:37 is what we were looking at in the better, drier, warmer conditions of daytime. So 1:38, 1:39. But as we look in this top left-hand corner of our screen there, Matt OTK with a 1:39, and Alex Neville in P2 just 0.6 seconds off as our championship leader goes off himself at Druid. So it's not easy for everyone at all, but they are kind of normal service has been resumed with those two guys just in this 10-minute practice session. So everyone unfamiliar with these conditions. Someone I am expecting to try and have a good race as he signs off for the season is Sam Pearce as well. He has had some mixed results, certainly suffered from some tyre glitches, but we do know that he's got pace and certainly he's banged in a few fastest laps. And we're hoping that he does a little bit better. He's done a great job organising the whole championship, and it'd be just nice to see him as he showboats there a little bit for us. It'd be nice to see him do as best as he can and get a good solid result, and he's already secured P10 in the championship, so nothing to play for, so he can really send it tonight.
Yeah, I think you can find a lot of other drivers today without the pressure of having to worry about getting extra points or pushing it. It's only that midfield pack that is really going to struggle, and that could actually open up for the guy that's lower down to actually get a few spaces if they're fighting it out for that final point.
True, and in P10 at the moment is Ed Whitehouse, TOT, to the Bracknell in his traditional white and purple livery. Ed had a couple of great results in the Club Racing UK lobby representing the G&M Motorsport team, so congratulations to Ed for his double win on Sunday. But I have to say, he has shown pace, he has been at the front, but everyone does seem to have caught him up a little bit in terms of hours behind the wheel, and he is prone to catching the odd bit of airtime, Karl.
Yeah, I think Snetterton was the first time that Ed didn't actually get any BA miles. So I don't know what's happening there. Maybe he's realised that it's actually quicker to keep all. Well, as I say that, he puts it up onto two wheels.
Yeah, just for you. Just for you.
Cheaper to and quicker to keep it on all four wheels on the ground.
And the person just sitting in front of him on the track there, Rob Lewis, who's currently in P7 with a 1:40, 2 seconds off. Rob has shown some great pace throughout the year, and earlier in the year I think his internet connection wasn't so great, but he seems to have got on top of that issue, got rid of the tyre glitch, and has consistently been quick and pushing for those podium positions. So maybe tonight's the night that he can cement some trophies. Not driving like that.
It could well be. It won't be if he's doing that, but he's just actually put in the second quickest lap of the test in practice session at the moment. So I will we'll move over to the fastest driver at the moment is Graham. So it does actually look with Matt and Alex outside of the top three at the moment on times that we could get a bit of an upset at this meeting.
We could do, and as we know, the beast of Brands is back at Brands, Karl. I mean, anyone could get burled at any moment. We just don't know whether or not he's going to behave himself. He's in about the 5th livery of the season, so sponsors leaving him thick and fast as he goes through the fast right-hander there on the part that's and onto this other right-hander. We do know he likes to take a bit of curb. He is a rear-wheel drive specialist, being an M3 driving champion in BMW Car Club, and these front-wheel drives haven't been kind to him, but every single race he has been consistently at the front. But has he got the temperament? If he gets nudged, he tends to throw his toys farther than my 5-year-old. He definitely spits the dummy, and he has rage quit a couple of times, and he's definitely a magnet. He's an absolute magnet for a crash, particularly in the first couple of corners, Karl.
Yeah, I think as we can see, his driving style is a bit loose tonight, but it looks like it's quick, so it may actually suit him that we're actually in the night. It's a little bit colder, and he's used to sliding it around a bit more.
Yeah.
Not quite as much as that though.
Yeah, I mean, as Graham has often told me in the past, fast and loose is good if you're with a lady, but it's not so good if you're in your racing car.
That is very true.
Someone else I'd like to see do well this evening is Johnny Tempest down in P11 as we sit there at the moment on the 142.9. Johnny 850 on the screen. He's stolen my livery for this evening, still struggling with the IT aspects of changing the livery of your car to your regular car, and the fluoro seems to work quite well in the dark. But Johnny Tempest undoubtedly has the most racing driver name of all of the drivers on this grid. And in fact, I haven't told him this yet, but I'm probably going to copyright that name and trademark it, and maybe start up a series about Johnny Tempest, the race driver in his big fast Volvo. How do you think that's going to go down with the public?
I think it'd go quite well, and he could also go quite well as a rock star with a name like that, couldn't he?
He could do, and I'm just wondering whether or not you've had an update at all on his court case that's been going on, where he killed 3 people on his way into the Silverstone pits a couple of weeks ago by going absolutely full chat. Obviously, corporate manslaughter, and I'm not sure Motorsport UK insurance covers absolute shambolic entry to pits. And killing the marshals. I don't think that's gone down well with any of the marshal fraternity at all.
No, I for those that weren't watching, Johnny got disqualified at the last Silverstone round for entering the pit lane exceeding the 60 kilometres an hour. His own words were, "I went in flat out," I believe.
Yeah, well, if in doubt, flat out applies normally, but it doesn't really go down well with the pit lane entry. And we do know that he's steadily got quicker throughout the whole of this series, and he is fairly solid, as long as he doesn't push any random buttons and eject himself from the start-finish, and as long as he doesn't kill anyone on the way into the pit lane, it would be great to see him have a whole race.
Would do indeed, and that's our test session over, and it's a little bit different than what we're used to seeing there for free practice, Paul.
It is. Graham in P1, which we know he's got pace around here. 137 in the dark and the cold is pretty good. Rob Lewis, P2, really good. And in P3, Scott Harper Thompson of the Pro-Am Racing Team, PRO, with a 138. So our series champion down in 4th place. And it does look pretty tight there. Ed a little bit off the pace, but that little threesome of Scott in P3, Russ in P5, and Ed in P8 is going to be really tricky to see who can get that last trophy in the rest of the season's championship.
That will be indeed, and we're going online for the qualifying session. It's 15 minutes long. We're right on board with Sam to start with, and we'll pick up the drivers as they go through.
We will do, and hopefully Johnny T is going to put the drum kit down in the pit garage. It's interesting to see 2 people really coming out exactly at the same time there, so maybe there's a little baby Clio on its way out there between Russ and Sam, but hopefully Johnny's put the drum kit down and got back to business.
I think that was is that Kiwi Russ out in front? I believe it is.
It is. He's got out just in front. So Russ has been consistently quick, and actually in midweek lobbies was very good as well. So he seems to be getting the hang of this Project 2 Cars Clio, and has been highly competitive. A couple of podiums, missed out a couple of races. So he struggled a little bit early on to get points, but he's clawed his way back up the table into P5, and he's just 3 points off Ed, and definitely within shouting distance of that P3 position with Scott.
Yes, those 3 drivers are very close, and I think Russ has definitely got to be up there for the most improved driver from race 1 to the last race weekend we're on at the moment. He has,
and it's been interesting to see his progression, as has other people. So Dave from the Northern Monkies team, Dave Howlett, he's also had a great season, been very solid, managed to avoid all of the problems that have been going on out in front of him, and has continued to collect a lot of points, and is pretty soundly in P6. Also, someone else who we're looking forward to seeing today is a big ginger wrecking ball, Tom Starkey. Currently P8, equal on points with Graham Crowhurst, so maybe a little bit of a battle there, 43 and 42. As I just run you through our championship position, so champion with 148 points is Matt. Alex in P2, 115. Scott P3, 81. Ed P4, and hopefully he stays there because he really wants that P3, and no one else in this group wants him to get it, with 69 in P4. Russ P5, 66. Dave in P6 with 48. Graham P7, 43. Tom P8, 42. And Rob Lewis P9, 38. And then a little bit of a gap down to Sam in 25 points in P10. And then a big gap, so the single pointers, Johnny Tempest, Nick McLeod, Rob, Dan and Jason with 8, 7, 5, 5 and no points accordingly. As we get underway very shortly into this 15-minute qualifying, and probably only going to get, 5, 6 quick laps if we're lucky, I'd have thought, Karl?
Yeah, it's going to be close to getting 5, 6 laps clean in. And that's if you can get a clean lap in. It's quite easy to make a mistake on the back section, the GP loop, and actually invalidate your lap time by just putting a wheel over the white line. So drivers have got to be careful of doing that, and it's something we have to keep an eye on, making sure that we can keep ahead of it where they're going to be on the grid. We've just got a message in from Cosy Racer, which I believe is Tom, asking why don't we do one more race with pre-2000 touring cars. Now, I know that we've been having chats in the background about what's going on, and he's not too far off of that.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it looks like the lockdown's going to continue in some form for some time to come, and we all know that as club racers, which a majority of the people in this field are, it's going to be difficult for us to get back out over the next few weeks. So there is potentially either an extension of this season, but more likely some ad hoc races which may continue. But thanks for your suggestion, Tom. A pre-2000 touring car race or championship might be interesting for everyone to join in on, and I certainly know the Clios have been very successful, and it's been the highlight of my Saturdays for the last 6 or 7 weeks now, so maybe that is something we can look at. As we sit here with Mr. G, who has decided that after a lovely drive in the countryside of Norfolk, he's going to go for a lovely drive in the countryside of Kent. He really doesn't mind who's behind him. Maybe it's because I think that's Dave behind him, hasn't got his lights on, so maybe that's why. Andy, be careful with Andy. Andy's, yeah, there we go. And on demand, Andy's managed to take someone out. So, and now he's in the middle of the track, and he's caused problems for Nick. And yeah, he's got a little nudge there as well, I think. So yeah, Andy's hit Nick. And just in free practice, in fact qualifying session started, it's a little bit of carnage, and I think that may carry over into the race and just make it a little bit interesting and maybe a bit of needle.
Yeah, most certainly is. There's a line out of Days of Thunder that comes to mention there, because I think he literally has everything on the circuit so far.
He has, other than the podium, I would suggest, and that's not looking good. But he's even decided that he doesn't want to be seen, and he's going to stealth bomber it, and he's not got his lights on, and he's going to take people out in the dark. So that could be interesting. But what is interesting is, in P1, our championship leader Matt has put in a 37.6, so maybe he was just sandbagging a little bit in that practice session, feeling out the conditions. We do know that he left the WhatsApp group earlier in the week. Like all good champions, he suddenly got up himself, decided that he didn't want to communicate with us anymore, and lo and behold, at 8 o'clock in the morning on race day, he reappeared again, Karl. So I don't know what that says about him, but maybe that's why he's a champion, and maybe that's why he's got the friends list of 3 on his Facebook page.
It could well be. Or it's either that, or he's got female stalkers that have been inundating him, and he's just not been able to get the practice in.
Well, we do know for legal reasons, Karl, we can't talk about your female stalkers. We know your fan club is massive, and ever since we teamed up on this dual commentary team, I have struggled to cope with the fan mail that's been coming to my house, just to say how magnificent Karl's been throughout the season. And can you introduce them to your brother David, who was interviewed on the My Supercar channel earlier this week?
Yeah, he was on My Supercar earlier this week, showing off his latest Joe Exotic hairstyle.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just best when he's got his crash helmet on, if you ask me, to be fair.
Yeah, and visor down.
Visor down, yeah. So just a big shout out to all of our regulars. Thank you, everyone who's been joining us through this season. A big shout out to my dad and all the parents and friends and family of other people as well. So Peter Graves, Tom, who's been following us, crowds, all of those guys. Thank you very much indeed. Also a big shout out to Jeff, who's Ginger Wrecking Ball Tom's dad, who's followed us every week, and thank you for loaning us Wendy Jr. earlier in the season to get those things round. Also Alex has been doing the mini championship quite proud in the mini championship in the week with yourself, Karl.
Yeah, Alex has been doing very proud of that. I started off well and I've gone downhill, but I hope to get it better at the this Monday evening when we're at back out in the dates for a circuit.
And he has won the last couple of races with us on Saturday night, and he's sitting in P1 at the moment with a 1:37.6. So 1:37.6 is the time to beat, and as ever, literally 0.021 seconds behind. Really close in qualifying. Outright qualifying pace is mapped in P2, and Scott in P3, and Scott just 15 hundredths off of second, off of pole position as well. Graham in P4, 0.2 off, and Kiwi Russ 0.7, so a little bit further back, but the top three covered by less than 0.2 of a second. So this is looking quite close.
Yeah, it is, and it just goes to show that when the pressure's on, the big boys come out and they put the times that are needed of them. And
actually, Mr. G is 10 seconds off the pace, but he is in P13, so he's climbed up the field. Sam Pearce down in P15. He's gone off there just on cue. Sam Pearce is in the garage having a little look just to see what's going on, but down in P15, maybe he's thinking, I've seen what's gone on the last few weeks in qualifying, maybe I'm better off down the back here and just watch the carnage go off in front of him and claw his way back. So maybe some tactical play here from our organiser. And in P16, Rob the Bear, yet to set a lap time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find out where Rob there is. I think he's just been invalidating laps. Every time that it's come up, he's just had an invalid lap. He could be on a lap that's not invalidated at the moment because I can't see it coming over at the moment. But again, he's invalidated.
He is, so he has shown pace, but what he has struggled to do on a couple of occasions is to keep it in between the white lines, and that's potentially going to hurt him there as he takes a lot of curve on the inside. I don't know if that's a visual glitch or if it is actually how he's driving. I know that he's definitely got the capability, so maybe that's just a glitch rather than.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at them coming around Graham Hill there, I think it's a glitch.
And at the top of our leaderboard, sorry to interrupt you, Karl. Scott in the Pro-Am Clio of the dark blue and light blue car there has gone into provisional pole position. So Scott's showing a turn of pace and saying, I really do want this to cement this P3 and take this last piece of G&M silverware home.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. The actual P3 looks like it's going to look like it's hotting up between actually Kiwi Russ, because Ed is down in position 9th at the moment for qualifying. And to be fair, that would leave him with a lot of work to do to get past his two main rivals and a few other drivers to score the points. And he's not showing the form that he started off with.
He hasn't, and as we know, that in the midfield, in the middle of this pack, is not the place to be. And certainly not anywhere within 5 or 6 positions just in front of Andy Burke, who took out our organiser unceremoniously at Snetterton in the rain, down in 14th at the moment, and that's dangerous for anyone basically from P7 down to P13 in front of him. So Mr. G just holding on, but he may be better just to hold off, go behind Dirty Bertie there, Andy, and let Andy do his thing on the first couple of corners and then steer through the pack as well as he goes wide there, Ed. So fast but not necessarily consistent, Karl.
No, he has been having the odd lap here and there. It does seem, and I don't think he's getting the clear laps in. He's got a clean lap there, but it's just not quite quick enough. It looks like at the moment though the front two are actually disposed of the 1-2 in the championship, and we've got Graham gone up into second. There's not much between them, less than half a second for the first 4 drivers, and then Kiwi Russ that's into the 37s. But the rest of them are in the 138s at the moment, so there's clearly 5 that are about a second a lap quicker.
Very much so, and Kiwi Russ in P5 seems to be struggling just to keep on the gas and keep up with the guys in front as we come down into our last 3 minutes of the 10-minute qualifying. And the Pro-Am racing car of Scott Harper Thompson has been consistently quick actually did suffer from some of those tyre issues earlier on in the championship, but we seem to have resolved those, hopefully, touch wood, and has had some good battles on the track with Alex in the first few rounds, but definitely has the pace. It's whether or not he can convert that into a race finish on the top step. He has had some podiums, but he has shown pace throughout, so we do know that he's got it within him. And Graham, the beast of brands, the guy that knows his place backwards, probably has booked a Hatch track day already, is in P2, just 0.4 seconds off. So it'd be interesting if we just go on board, Karl, so for the viewers, so that they can see what the drivers can see. So we know that they're fixed to cockpit view, so they don't get the full benefit that we do from trackside. Looks like someone's lights are facing towards us in the gravel there. So that's Matt, our championship leader, into the fast right-hander of Hawthorn. Let the car run wide, and we do know that in this game, actually, the inside curve of this next right-hander, the Westfield, it's a bit like a sausage curve, but he's throwing the cars up in the air, which in real life isn't the case. He tends to monster those curves. As we come down now through Dingley Dell and into the right-hander of Sheens, and then along into the left-hander of Sterling's, and then along down into Clearway. So a little bit of traffic in front, flashing his lights effectively. Very well negotiated there. And you come into Clearways, down through Clearways into the Clark Curve, a little bit loose at the rear end, which is fine. Brings it back onto the inside, and it'd be interesting to see whether or not he improves on his previous lap times, Karl.
Yes, it would do indeed. It doesn't look like he was. It looks like he's invalidated the lap somewhere there, unfortunately. But it was a clean disposal of those back markers that were in the way and the traffic that was in the way, albeit having to flash them a little bit.
It would be interesting to see if Graham can get away at the front and get some clean racing in. He is a clean racer himself. He hasn't had a lot of luck. Seems to have been getting into a few incidents and maybe getting collected as part of some other people's problems. So it would be nice just to see him get away at the front and demonstrate to us why he's the beast of brands. But of course, we all know that as we come through the Clark Curve and onto the Brabham Straight, once we get into that zone, particularly in the latter laps, Graham will show no mercy. Doesn't matter how old you are, young you are, whether you've got a fantastically expensive race car or a real cheap shitbox Clio, he will take you out. And there we go. He's put him off, haven't we? We have put him off.
Even himself.
Yeah, he's prepared to sacrifice himself. And it's interesting to see whether or not he race quits now, because that's what he normally would do. But no, he's sitting in P2 and he's decided to collect it up. Maybe he's matured over the course of this season and thinks, you know what, I'm going to hang on in there because I am in P2.
Indeed, I think one of the things he's going off for a slight detour there again. Maybe that's just because he's heard you talking.
It could be.
One of the interesting things with Graham this week is I don't think Graham's actually been on as much as he has in the past. So he wasn't on too much last night at all. So maybe he's realised that he's been doing too much in the week where he was winning races and he was having clean issues and was bringing in the bad luck for the racing. So we'll see if that helps him tonight. So
effectively, Karl, what you're trying to tell us is he should do less more often.
I think we will see how it happens, but at this moment in time, we've got Alex that could potentially be on a faster lap at the moment.
It would be sneaky, wouldn't it? If he, I'm not sure he's going to pull it out, but as we sit at the moment, he's the only man in the top four who's still out on track. Scott in P1 at the moment, and I don't think Alex. No, looks like he's a little bit loose and fast.
He would have got track limits there, and I believe he was already sitting with a track limits, so the lap was invalidated anyway.
So for the first time this year, congratulations to the Pro-Am Racing Clio Scott Harper Thompson, pole position with a 1:37.1. 4 tenths off, Graham in P2, Alex steady as normal and always qualifying well, just 0.06 seconds behind Graham in P3. Matt, our championship winner, in P4. Russ in P5. The Ginger Wrecking Ball, who's kind of snuck up out of nowhere, in P6. Rob in P7 and Ed in P8. Dave in P9. And Rob the Bear has managed to get a lap in during qualifying. Not necessarily the pace that he has, but he's obviously put a banker in and rounding out the top 10 there. So a little bit of a mix with Sam Pearce also much further down in P13 or P14. So be interesting to find out from him afterwards exactly what happened and why he's down there. But the tables have been turned and the qualifying's not the usual faces. So hopefully we're interesting race ahead, Karl.
There is going to be an interesting race ahead, and by the looks of it, it was more to the point that Sam, I think, has decided he wanted to start from the back of the grid. I think he wants to go racing.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? I mean, he has got to get past Mr. G, and we know that Mr. G's been involved in a few accidents as we go. As they form up, they get themselves ready. They wait for those last few tentative moments, and we'll see on our screen sinking just before they start to go green. Pro-Am Racing PRO, Scott in P1, Graham P2, Alex P3, Matt P4, Russ P5, Tom P6, Rob Lewis, Club Racing UK. Check out their podcast. They're in 3 episodes in now, and it's getting better every week, in P7. Ed to the Brackmobile TOT in P8, Dave P9, Rob the Bear, Rob Burnham in P10. And in 11th place, Johnny T. So Johnny T hunting the points as well. It'd be great to see him do some well. As I think we're getting ready to go and we're syncing up. And we know that it's going to be all 16 cars down into the first corner. And they all go. And Andy Burt straight off onto the grass. Sam looks like he's got a good... and they come in, a little bit of contact there up the inside. Graham, has he got the inside line? He has. He's managed to come in. He's taken that P1, but he's gone wide and he's been collected.
Oh!
And 3 of them. So who's benefited from that? Once again, Matt is at the front of the field and Kiwi Russ is in P2. Rob Lewis is in P3. So Matt could get away at the front here, but Kiwi Russ potentially could take that P3 in the championship.
Yeah, he could do indeed, because you've actually got Scott that's dropped right the way back down to 10th, and Alex is down to 12th. So for once there's been an accident at the front and it hasn't actually involved Matt. He's actually avoided it this time and has got a very clean lead, but I'm sure Russ will actually put him under pressure.
He will.
Coming out onto the
Russ,
GP loop.
Russ won't waste for a championship. If he can get a sniff of a P1, particularly against our champion, he will have a go. And the person who may benefit from that is in P3, Rob Lewis. So Rob in the blue and red car. And Russ has gone, he's nudged him, and yes, he's gone in. So it is an interesting first lap with lots going on throughout. And who's up in P3? The ginger wrecking boy himself. He's avoided all the trouble. It's Tom Starkey in P3, right behind P2. So this is going to be close as well, Karl.
Yes, it is indeed, and the one that's actually gained probably the most out of it from a championship point of view is Ed. We were talking about him earlier. He's actually been able to manage to keep out of the trouble, put himself in P5, which is just ahead of Kiwi Russ, which he needs to do, but more importantly, it's 5 places ahead of Scott. So, quick maths, I believe that would put him 3rd in the championship.
Well, we weren't expecting that, given the way that Scott raced. It just looked like Graham got a little bit loose, lost the back end. As he came through that at the rear end, and just lost it a little bit, and that collected up the first 3. But Matt is out front, as we would expect, managing to benefit from that.
He is indeed. He's benefiting from that. He's going to open up. But we've actually got Alex and Scott that are working their way through the field at the moment, and I believe that Scott was just hit by Rob the Bear. Let's go back on to that little battle there.
Yeah, so Rob the Bear, we do know he has pace, and he certainly is an elbows out racer. Races in the Track Day Championship and the Track Day Trophy, and he's almost won the championship a couple of times in the Class D Fiesta. Scott is a Track Day Championship and Track Day Trophy racer himself, and has got a magnificent piece of kit in his 182 Clio, and they do sell some parts, and they've got a website going for Pro-Am Racing, so feel free to drop in there and have a look. They're just spreading out a little bit, but Rob Lewis in P2 is hanging on to our leader just about. He's not letting Matt get away from him, as the ginger wrecking boy in the background looks like he might have gone out. So Dave has moved up into P3. So yet again, he's avoided the problems. He's managed to keep it on the black stuff and has moved up into a podium position for not the first time, but points look like they could come his way if he continues to hold on, Karl.
Yeah, I was just about to go over to Dave to talk about one of the fan favourites that's clearly doing well in 4th place. But as you rightly said, the Ginger Wrecking Ball seemed to have taken himself out there.
He does, and he was running really well, wasn't he, in P3? He'd managed to come up from kind of P6, P7, take advantage of the carnage that had happened over the first few laps. But Dave, dependable Dave, solid Dave, the Northern Monkey himself, is in a little bit of fresh air, both in front and behind. And I think if he can keep up the pace that we know he has, and he doesn't usually make a lot of mistakes, then you never know, he might even creep up, because Rob Lewis is prone to crashing every now and then, but genuinely has pace.
Yes, he is. I'm just going to go back on to find Sam. He's down to 9th. We've actually had a driver that's dropped out. Originally, I was going for being Graham, but no, Graham is just behind Sam. So I will need to work out what driver has dropped out. I think. Yes, it looks like it is Mr. G dropped out.
What happened, Jez? So I'm being told that Mr. G ended up on his roof and couldn't reset, so couldn't get back to the pit. So he's out and he's watching, and he's just going to have his fourth bottle of rosé for the evening.
It is there, and in the background, Graham decided he was going to put it into the barrier again. So the tactic of not racing on the Friday night to get some luck on the Saturday night clearly isn't working for him either.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's got the tyre glitch back, in which case if he drops out the party chat might help him a little bit. But Matt out in front, clearly on a 1:38.2 best, lap 4, 5 minutes gone of our race. In P2, Rob Lewis of Club Racing UK, who's not letting him get away, Karl. He really is keeping there less than 2 seconds, so no let up for our leader. We know that Matt very rarely makes mistakes and he's consistent, and Rob will push hard, I believe. In P3,
yeah,
Dave, of the Northern Monkey team, just 4 seconds behind Rob, and then back up into P4, Kiwi Russ. So Kiwi Russ not letting go of this position, and who's behind him? The person who's really close to him in the championship, just 3 points ahead, Ed Whitehouse, TOT. So 4th and 5th is going to be interesting, and a fast man in Alex, who's won the last couple of races, up behind him as well. So this could be an interesting tussle between Kiwi Russ and Ed.
Yeah, it can do, and that group of drivers are actually catching the leaders up ever so slowly. Probably not by enough in the time that we've got left, but they are actually reducing that gap, and it may be due then to having that extra bit of toe.
Yeah, as we follow now Scott, who's working his way back up through the field, up into P7, a couple of seconds behind. So they are a little bit kind of nose to tail. They're not within a second of each other just yet, but they are collectively getting much closer. And Rob the Bear is holding on to that P8 position. There, just a 10-second gap back to him. And Sam Pearce, who started dead last on the grid, as we watch the Pro-Am racing car go wide and he collects it up. Sam Pearce, who started dead last on the grid, up to P9. So it'd be nice if we could just follow him for a minute, given all the work he's put in for us. So Sam Pearce in the silver and red car is flashing and trying to distract Rob the Bear, who's in P8, and he cuts across the front of him. Sam takes the more traditional line. He's disappeared, he's glitched off, he's back again, so we're not so sure. And it looks like he's held on to that inside line. So Sam showing that he's going to be patient with this, and Rob the Bear in front looking a little bit. I think it's Rob the Bear that could be, he's lagging a little bit there and glitching around, but it'll be interesting to see where he is or isn't. Sam has got pace.
Rob's glitching, and that means that we know that Sam's got to be a little bit careful, because Rob could be seen to be on his outside, and just like that, not be there and take him out.
So he's had no luck through the whole of this series, and it looks like his luck hasn't done him any favours this time at all. And Rob the Bear has taken out Sam Pearce, our organiser, who was making great progress back up through the field, and the pair of them have dropped down to 11th and 12th.
Yeah, and that's where a glitchy connection can cause not only you problems, but also your competitors, and we've seen that a couple of times this season.
Yeah, as the Ginger Record Ball sticks it up the inside of Sam, and these two had a great race at Snetterton, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not these two can keep it clean, and whether could it be the first person to make a mistake. Sam has a little look up the inside, gets the curve, gets up on two wheels, but keeps it together as they come down into the right hand. There is Sheen's quick corner, There with the brakes, chuck it in. Sam seems to have got a little bit better line, but the ginger wrecking ball, Tom Starkey up in front of him, hasn't lost any space there, turns it in nicely, and these two are quite close to each other, but they are down in 12th and 13th place. But just to go to show that as throughout the whole of this season, there has been a lot going on as we come on board now with Alex Neville in the car. Is he going to put it up the inside of Dave? So he has, and he's made it stick. And Dave's coming back at him, but Alex does have the inside line as they come round the left-hander of Surtees. Be interested to see. So Dave seeing if he can do the cutback, make it stick, and he's got to draw. And they've touched, and that's allowed Ed to scoot up into P4. So Ed being the beneficiary there of the two in front of him having some contact, and it's now Russ in P3 and Ed in P4. So that third position is still up for grabs.
Yeah, I think what happened there, Dave executed the cutback perfectly, and I don't think Alex was aware that he'd actually got up on the inside of him at the time.
Well, it has been said that he doesn't use his mirrors. He doesn't use his mirrors very well, is what I've heard on the circuit. Maybe you'll find out that for yourself as we get into the real racing later this year. I believe that Alex is contesting our view of whose fault that was, but I think we like Dave, don't we? I think Dave wouldn't do anything wrong at all, would he? He just wouldn't do that sort of thing, would he?
He's the fans' favourite, isn't he?
He is the fans' favourite. I mean, not like Alex. I mean, no one likes Alex, do they? No one likes him. He's good, but no one likes him. I mean, he's good, he's fast. We pretend to like him. But I'm just not sure that we do like him. Everyone likes Dave.
He's exactly, and we're not getting abuse on the chat from Dave, are we? We are getting abuse from Alex.
Yeah, and that's just because Dave's nice. Dave's nice. I think that's what it is. And it would be interesting to see whether or not Alex does stick to his promise of taking Ed out and making sure that Ed doesn't finish in P3. There is nothing to lose for Alex. His P2 is secure. He's got Ed in his sights up ahead, and Ed does make mistakes, whereas Alex tends to be pretty clean, apart from obviously the last lap where he just crashed into Dave on purpose. But hopefully Alex chases him down and does Kiwi Russ a favour, because let's face it, as much as nobody really likes Alex, people like Ed even less.
It is true, and there is rumours that there was a conspiracy to take Ed out on the group chat all week to ensure that Scott or Kiwi Russ received the third position. And I think it was no more fact than the fact that Ed was in his utmost that he was going to get that third place overall.
And talking of being out, it's great to see Andy is still allowed to be in-out. Now, as the restrictions are getting lifted more and more as we move into the June month and potentially into July, if we can get the various scale of COVID-19 alert levels down, and Ed going up on two wheels given, and he's got a drive-through penalty, so it was definitely his fault. The race adjudicator has agreed with us, and dirty Alex is up to his old tricks, Karl. And I think you and your dad are going to have to sit him down and talk to him about this mini-season before it gets underway, just to avoid this kind of catastrophe.
It's definitely a conversation, but we've got a driver off there, and I think it might be Scott that was in the gravel. No, I'm trying to work out. Was it Rob Lewis that was in?
And just looking at that there, that was Dave in the white and blue car with the dark blue car. So Scott Harper Thompson in the dark blue car is making progress back up through the field into P5, pushing Dave down into P6. So the next car in front of him is Ed with Kiwi Russ. So Ed is around about a second and a half behind Kiwi Russ in P3, but out front is our championship leader and championship winner Matt with a 1:38, 7.5 minutes left, and Rob Lewis just losing contact with him a tiny bit in P2. So Russ is off. I hear Russ is off. He's gone off and he's lost his P3. And who's jumped in front of him? It's Ed the student.
These guys, they grab that third position for the championship in their hands, and then they just throw it away. So now it looks like the pressure is on Ed to keep that position.
It is, and Kiwi Russ is now behind it, but he is 4 seconds behind it. That's a lot of time to try and make up. So if Ed can keep it steady, he will be able to secure that P3. And if Scott's in P6, I'm not sure that's enough to take that P3 away from Scott, to be fair, but it would be interesting to see. I don't think it is. And neither does Ed by the sound of it.
12 points, so I think if Scott can get in the top 5, I think he's then confirmed to be third in the championship.
Yeah, but he has had a couple of collisions already so far this evening, so there's no guarantees. These last 6 minutes will be interesting. Lots of penalties for people on the left-hand side. You can see the few. So Matt P1, Robin P2. So if we just follow Rob Lewis for a second, he's done really well to keep himself out of the trouble at the start, and he's keeping our leader honest there in P2. He's 3 seconds off, but he's not letting him get too far up the road, Karl.
No, he's not. He's keeping him within that distance. That if Matt can't afford to put one wheel wide, as we saw earlier, just going off at the back part of the circuit, you can lose 5 or 6 seconds just trying to get back onto the circuit, and even more so going through paddock gravel. So he's not leaving Matt to go off into the distance so that he can make a mistake at all.
He isn't, and just while the field spread out a little bit, it'd just be nice if we could see a few of the guys down the back end. So in P13 at the moment is Dan Underwood, R32 Dan, who's down there, who's had some enjoyable sessions in this evening, missed a couple of races, but has certainly been a worthy competitor throughout the whole of the year, and he's gone off. So the commentator's curse has struck him. He's definitely not holding back and chasing down the sister car in front of him, which is Nick McLeod, Night Sky Watcher in P12, and Nick has had some good results and some solid positions, battling it out really. So a little bit of friendly rivalry even between him and Johnny Tempest, Johnny 850, who is currently in P10 and going to get a point. And if Johnny does do that, then Johnny will be able to just pick in front of his mate, go back, play the drums, do a few lines of drugs, have a few beers, and go back to work on Monday as though nothing had happened.
Yeah, and we've also lost Sam from there, so I don't know if Sam has done a Graham and raged quit in this case, but he's dropped off too, so we're down to 13 runners.
Yeah, and in P11 is Rob the Bear, so yet again sort of showing some glimpses of pace. I think he's got internet connections issues this evening and jumping around a little bit on our screen, certainly taking out Sam Pearce, so those two won't be talking for a while because we know Sam takes these things really well. In P11, in P10, the man himself, the fastest name on the track, is Johnny Tempest, and just in front of him, the ginger wrecking ball, Big Tom Starkey. So just for Big Tom Starkey's fans, I'm sure the G&M boss Ian Gay will be calling me into the office on Tuesday, just to have a chat with him about the fact that he has shown pace, but he hasn't managed to string those into actual end results, Karl.
No, he was looking promising at the beginning of the race. First 5 minutes or so, he was looking that he could even potentially get a podium place, but then got involved in other people's accidents and his own, and he's pushed himself right the way down the field.
He has. As we're just listening on to commentary, the race that we want to get to probably is P3 and P4, Ed and Russ. So Russ has got a 1 second penalty, so he's got to get past him, and maybe just for these last couple of laps, you know, Karl, I don't think he's going to settle for that on-track position and just take the points and see what happens. I think he's going to push on the track and see whether or not he can force Ed into a mistake.
Yeah, and he's got nothing to lose either, so he's got to beat Ed for the points anyway. Beating Ed into third and fourth, I think, will give him a 2-point advantage, and at the moment there is 3 points between them. So that, by doing that, could actually just push Ed down into fifth in the championship and give Russ fourth overall.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Russ is definitely trying very hard. He's either being very amorous with me down the microphone, or his heavy breathing is because he's really concentrating and trying to put in those fast lap times, as he goes a little bit wide there on the exit, but he collects it up. And Ed's looking behind in his mirrors a lot, and that's never a good thing to do, Karl. If you're out front, looking front, put your foot down and see what happens.
Yeah, you just need to concentrate on your own race, and Ed seems to be going wide, which would suggest he's not concentrating on his own race, he's concentrating on Russ's race.
He is, and Russ is right up behind him now as they come down into the straight, down this into clearways, and then round into the right-hand wheel park curve, and it will be interesting. If Ed loses the back end here, and Russ sticks it up the inside, is he going to nudge him? No, he's trying to keep it relatively clean. They gave her a little love tap, but is he going to make it stick this time as we come up to the fast right-hander that is Paddock Hill Bend?
Looks like he's going to try the undercut and push Ed.
Is he going to get a run on him up the hill? So Ed taking the inside line and losing it, but he goes defensive. Russ is going to go around the outside, trying to cut it back. Hasn't quite managed to make it stick, so Ed using all of his experience there to hold on to that position, but he's definitely not got the fastest lap time in him by doing that. And if Russ managed to get a run on him, it'd be interesting to see if he gets a little bit of a draft as they come out of Surtees and along the long straight back up and down into Pilgrim's Drop. So Ed's also got a penalty.
Space, and he's got a penalty as well now.
He has, so it's as we see it on the track, so Ed doesn't have that 1 second cushion anymore as they come down. Ed moving to the inside, taking the defensive line. Kiwi Russ, 40 seconds left, so they may get one more lap in. But Russ taking the fastest sweeping line as we follow on board with Russ having a look. Ed keeping it together as they go through the fast right-hander, and this is going to be the next opportunity. See whether or not Russ has a little look up the inside. No, he's giving him a nudge. There is contact, so he's definitely not going to settle for P4. He can sniff that third place on the podium, and he's saying to Ed, I'm going to take you out probably, and I'm going to try and have a lunge. So Ed just getting a little bit of distance with him there as they now come down clear ways into the Clark curve, and be interesting to see. There's only really a couple of overtaking spots, Karl, and I do think we're going to get one more lap in for these guys.
Yeah, there is one more lap because the two leaders have gone across the start-finish line already, and we've actually got an incident going ahead of these guys. So it looks like we could have a slower driver coming back onto the circuit, causing potential
Russ
issues.
He hits him, Karl. He does make contact, and he's off. Russ is off. He manages to collect it up, but I do think that's the last opportunity he's going to have as someone rejoins the circuit and thinks twice about it and lets him off. But I do think that was the only opportunity he has. So unless Ed makes a mistake, he will get P3 in this race, take the third step of the podium, and secure that P4 in the championship. But Scott will keep P3 overall.
Yes, it looks like we're going on to the last lap as we are, and Matt has now got a good cushion, so even if he has a bit of a problem here, he could almost coast back
so
off of the GP circuit.
congratulations to Matt, but I do hear that Ed has crashed, so he's come off and he's gone down into P4, and Russ is back in P3 with Ed very, very close behind him. So it's as we see it, and Ed's gone wide again and he's lost it, and he's spun and his tyres have gone. He's lost his tyres in the race, so we did think that he'd secured that P3 and he hasn't. He's lost position.
Yeah, it looks like just as we cut away to the leader to try and get them to go across the line, that Ed has thrown it away, and he's followed Scott and he's followed Kiwi Russ in taking that third position and just thrown it away.
So congratulations to our race winner, Matt Parr, OTK. Congratulations, Matt, on finishing the season in style, just the way you started, and securing that for Grant Motorsport. Congratulations to Rob Lewis, who finishes in P2. Great performance there. Kiwi Russ crossing the line in P3, closely followed by Dave, and yet again Dave has managed to pull out a solid performance, get the points in P4, and up into 5th, the Pro-Am racing car of Scott Harper Thompson, finally followed by Ed. So Ed, looking at the podium, no one else around him, managed to lose it, and down in P5, Scott in P6, Alex crosses the line after a couple of weeks, so well done to Alex in P7, and Rob the Bear out of nowhere has managed to get up. He's just got these last couple of corners to go. Rob the Bear has managed to look like he can get this across the line. He will get some points in P8 and probably finish the season as we would have expected him to be throughout. So 8th for him, and scoring some points, Night Sky Watcher, that's Nick McLeod, so that could potentially gain him some points in P9 and jump Johnny Tempest in front of him. Is just 1 point ahead in the championship, so Nick should jump Johnny with that. Graham in P10, he seems to have had tyre issues again. It's that 35-second penalty, so that's going to push him down. So as we wait and see what our race was, so in P1, Matt, Rob Lewis in P2, Russ in P3, securing that top step of the third step of the podium. Dave in P4, Ed in P5, Scott in P6, Alex P7, Nick in P8, Johnny T in P9. So I think that puts them level on points in the championship, but we wait and see. And rounding out the top 10, Rob the Bear securing some points. And it has been a great season. I just want to say a big thank you to all of our drivers, and also to Sam for organising everything, for G&M Motorsport for sponsoring the trophies. Just over to you, Karl, just for your thoughts and views on what we've seen this evening. Just a quick review of your overview of the season. I just want to say thank you for partnering with me on the commentary. It's been a pleasure.
No, Paul. Likewise, it's been a pleasure. It's been a good Saturday evenings watching the guys and commentating with you. I think the season's gone fairly well. We've seen some great racing. We've seen some pretty awful racing too. But overall, it's been fantastic. I just want to clear up one of those points. I know we noticed that at that point, Scott actually went over the line in 5th. With Ed behind him, but Scott actually got a 5-second penalty, which caused him to drop down into 6th place. But I think it's been overall a very exciting time, and we've got some new things coming up soon to keep you entertained on a Saturday evening.
We will do. So hopefully we continue to do some stuff on Saturday nights until such time as we can all get back out. Thank you to all of our drivers. Thank you to everyone who's watched us and supported us. And you never know, we might find 1 or 2 new drivers come in, or 1 or 2 drivers decide they want to drop out, but we will communicate to everyone what we're up to, when we're going to do it, and hope to see you again in the future, and look forward to maybe getting some racing in towards the back end of the year. So thanks from me, and thanks from Karl. Good luck, stay safe, and keep in touch. Thank you.